Okay, so today we have the privilege of talking to Jochen Traut. He's our Windhoek East Regional Councillor candidate for IPC. So welcome, thank you.
Thank you, John-Louw.
Okay, so I think what is very important at this stage is that the people from Windhoek East and that want to vote for you in this regional council as regional council candidate, they need to know a bit more about you. So I think if you can just kind of provide us with a brief overview of your path, how you started, what experience you have, and how you ended up with IPC. So first, just start a bit of the background so that we can have a bit of a better understanding.
Yeah, I'm Jochen Traut, born and bred Windhoeker, so I was born here. I'm basically third generation German speaking. So yeah, this is my home, this is where I'm living all my years. So Windhoek is my home and this is why my interest is here. Ending up in politics was not on my agenda when I got into retirement, but I think a few things have changed and basically had me decided after the last elections and everything that went there that I will join and start helping IPC with my knowledge that I gained over the years in the public service specifically, because I was 44 years in the telecoms industry and most of those companies were public enterprises. And my last assignment was 10 years at CRAN, setting up CRAN. So that is basically my professional background. Myself, I was many years, and I think that is why I think also a candidate for this is, I did a lot of social responsibilities all my years. It started off with being at the Boy Scouts, being the leaders in Boy Scouts. Then I went into the unions, believe it or not. I was a unionist. I was even the vice president of the Public Service Union of Namibia, just during the period of independence. One of my biggest aims and hope was to unite the unions, but my argument was the union should not be linked to a political party. Unions should be independently, and as democracy grows, go to each party, say, listen, which one of you can give me the best for my workers? And I think we're getting there. At that time, it was too early. That's 35 years ago. I think that was still too early. But if you look what's happening now in South Africa, Kusato is dying, and there's all these splitter groups for the very same reason. Unions should be independent. But that was a very good lesson, being a unionist. I mean, even helping writing the labor bill or the act at that time. I scripted the speech of Moses Kachionga in Parliament. So I helped him. We were in the radio wave offices, and I took him through this labor bill and everything. So that was a very good experience of being a unionist.
So perhaps you can just elaborate a bit on why you mean the unions are or partisan. I know, I think it's Tuk now. They say they are not partisan, but I mean some of these unions they were formed as historically. They were part of SWAPO and part of the whole process. So maybe you can just give a bit of a background.
Yeah, look, at my time with the unit, we also traveled a little bit and did some benchmarking where and what happened and things like that. And in Europe, the unions are totally independent. And when it's election time, they say, what is in your manifesto and what are you promising the workers? And then they will advise and say to their members, we think this party A will do better for us than party B. Party B had the opportunity, but they didn't deliver. Let's go now for A or C or whatever. So this is where unions are independent, and then they can guide and make sure. With being linked to a party, like historically, you're right. I mean, that the unions, the churches, the schools, they were part of the struggle to mobilize people and things like that. But we're 35 years down the line now. I think things have to change. Unions must become definitely much more independent, because at the moment unions are not effective, especially those politically linked unions are not effective anymore. They are basically made quiet. And the unions were just a ladder into the political landscape.
Yeah.
And that should not be the case. Unions should be unions and should fight for that thing.
And you can also say that the unions won't help the employees of government-owned institutions. So, I mean, for a union to be biased, it has a lot of challenges, and it also pushes people into a specific arena. So I think what we all have this similar thing where we realize that, you know, after 35 years, the country needs drastic change. We need a change of leadership. we need competence, we need better governance, we need to root out corruption. And I think IPC in itself, because we are such a rule of law driven party, it's also one of the reasons I was able to join IPC. So perhaps you can give me a bit of a oversight of the frustrations, not to rant too much, but the frustrations that drove you to say that, listen, I'm willing to stand up and actually participate in a political party against the status quo so that we can start rooting out these things.
Yeah, look, when I retired, and there's a lot of things from a regulatory perspective, for example, that are hanging in the air for years. Cybersecurity, data protection, all those things. I mean, my 10 years in CRAN, we were struggling to get this off the ground, and it's getting nowhere. And that is why when I saw, okay, IPC got these 20 seats, I went to our chairperson in the region, to Fritz, and I said, Fritz, I want to help. I've got all that knowledge on the ICT side. I was deeply involved with the NFA when I was an interim secretary during the period where the normalization committee of FIFA was involved. FIFA had a pen and I was engineer. And I've got understanding of what happens in the Ministry of Sport, you know, the Sports Commission, NSSSU. That wasn't one of the reasons where I got involved with soccer, because NSSU was not functioning at schools level. So, and I wanted to help share my experience and say, listen, these are the things you must look out. For example, another big evil in this country is this SNT thing. I can share with you a lot of things, the abuse of SNT and how people are just making a living out of it. And I think that is something, and I just had enough of this whole corruption. And of course, I also stood hours in the queue for the elections, and nothing has happened. There was not a single public reprimand against the ECN by the government, and people just get away with it. Look at this fire now at the Tosha Pan. It's pure incompetence and negligence. But nothing will happen. The same people will be there. The next fire in 5 years will be the same people and say, oh my God, what happened? I'm just sick and tired of it. And the more pressure you do on, I think IPC winning 20 seats, we can already see SWAPO has realized there's something happening. There are some good words, but remember, it's election time. We want to see how things are.
Tangible results.
Yeah, we want to see tangible results. I mean, there's a lot of promises now. There's a lot of traveling. Propaganda campaign with my tax money, because they claim SNT and accommodation and government vehicles.
And NBC covers them. We pay for NBC.
Exactly.
They travel with them.
So this is the things that are bothering me. Like NBC, it's not impartial.
Yeah.
They're not. But I mean, remember before, when 35 years ago, when we had SVRIK, SWAPO used the same tactics that you are using at the moment, all the airtime things like that. So yeah, the wheel is turning. Thing is slowly but surely turning. But you need youth, but you also need people with experience. And the problem that I find is that people in the business world or in leader and government public enterprise positions cannot actually come forward and say, listen, I'm going to help the party go forward. I've got nothing to lose. Yeah. I'm a pensioner. Yeah. I can actually now share my knowledge and I can speak up. And what's in there for me to lose? Yes. I haven't got a position in the public enterprises that and they didn't want me on any one of those boards because I don't carry any SWAPO card. Yeah. So it's fine. Yeah. This is not my time to contribute and help IPC build capacity going forward. I've got no inspirations to go be a cabinet minister or something. I just want to share my knowledge. To be a councillor for Windhoek East was not really on the agenda. The agenda was to help the parliamentarians to be equipped to fight and argue knowledgeably against all those things.
Yeah, and I mean, as the Shadow Minister of ICT, you've helped me immensely, giving me a bit of an insight, especially the areas that I, in telecommunications, that I'm not that well versed with. I quickly want to touch on the SNT thing that you mentioned. Beginning of the year, when the president came out saying that corruption is treason, right? I thought to myself, I really hope they take it seriously. But the deeper I got into it, I realized if they were really serious about taking corruption seriously, they would start closing the loopholes. Yeah. And I mean, everyone that administration, they've been here for 35 years. They know exactly where the loopholes are. in the procurement system, the things like S&Ts, how they would choose to travel to Oshikati so that they can claim the rates, and they use these systems that they created for themselves to benefit. And I think that's one of the things that we are so frustrated with coming from the outside, coming into this system and seeing how they use this to loot the country. And yeah, I just also want to thank you for being willing to stand up and to say that, listen, you want to transfer knowledge. And I think us as, you know, Afrikaners and Germans, we've kind of been on the outside of politics for quite some time. And one of the reasons I joined was I was like, you know, I have to bring what I can to the table. And I think I can see the similar thing with you. We need to bring what we can to benefit all of Namibia. And you have a very wide array of institutional knowledge that is very valuable to be transferred. So maybe you can also give me an indication. I know it wasn't originally the plan to be regional councillor, but when you are called upon to serve, I think it's important to stand up and serve. So maybe you can give me an idea of how this knowledge that you have, how would that translate into your role as a regional councillor, and also supporting the party at large, but specifically this role in Windhoek East?
Look, Windhoek East is sort of a constituency which doesn't really have challenges like other constituencies have. I mean, take it, you know, like proper streets. Well, we have streets, but they're dilapidated. It's a maintenance issue. It's not getting proper tar streets in. So we have everything. The concern that I have here is, and as part of the other issue is making the ease of making business in Namibia. You know, that's another one which I feel like there's no development for new things in the Windhoek East constituency, really. It's all over, but you need upper class places when there's investments coming in, people want to go into those areas rather. So there's no development for new urban businesses. I really would like to bring in industries back to Windhoek. Another thing is tourism. People land at the airport, take their car through Windhoek, out of Windhoek, at the lodge. And they come where? Find a way how we can keep tourists for a night or two in Windhoek. Create something that makes it interesting to stay here. I mean, to stay in a hotel and things like that, I understand that tourists, but you must start thinking of it. I haven't got the answer yet, but I mean, once you're in a position and you get more focused, the answer will come.
Yeah.
I mean, that's something that I've learned in life is don't try to find the answer in one meeting. You need to have time. And a very good example was, it's part of my social responsibility things where we started. I was 13 years on school boards. And I was on these Delta schools, Deutsche Schule Windhoek, Deutsche Oberschule Windhoek. And we, for years, the government said, listen, you cannot use this Deutsche anymore. Deutsche Schule is, you must find something else. But we wanted to keep the DSW. It took us 18 months. And it was a meeting, after the meeting at the SKW, when all of a sudden somebody popped up and say, Delta. Delta, that's not DSW, Deutsche Schule Windhoek, Delta Schule Windhoek, we kept the DSW. And the Delta is very easy. It's, you know, Delta feeds people, it's a triangular, which is the strongest, things like it. But it took us 18 months to come up with that idea. So I think this is what I say, you should not rush things.
Yeah.
You know what you want, you know where you want to go, but talk. And as I said, sometimes the best decisions comes after the meeting.
Yeah.
When you sit around, have a beer, or after a ride, then these good ideas come up. And I think that is sort of my vision and things like that.
And I think when it comes to problem solving in general, right? If you have a knowledge base, you can only find the solutions when you're confronted with the problem. And that is exactly what you're saying. Yeah. And when your brain starts processing all this, how can we find a solution for this problem? And I think that's why it's so important that that we need to field candidates that has that problem solving ability. So that with the same with me, when you come from the outside, you don't know. You don't really comprehend and understand what is the magnitude of the issue you are facing. So I think that's why I think you are a very good candidate, because you have this knowledge base, but you also have a problem solving ability. And I just want to touch on the thing that you said. I know Windhoek East, we are probably the most well-off constituency in this country, right? But we cannot function in isolation.
No, I totally agree, because the thing is, and this is why you have all this incompetence and things like, and there was another day a nice article circulated on social media why do we have the situation where nothing is functioning? It's because you allowed something initially which was wrong and you ignore it. Then you order the second time, and by the time you realize it's a problem, it's already a snowball and you can't stop it. And the same for Windhoek East. We've got some bad roads. We've got old infrastructure. And we must find a plan to start fixing it before it's too late. So there are challenges, definitely. And I think this is for the city of Windhoek, this is the contributes the most into the coffers. So something must certainly come back to the city of Windhoek. And then things like security is a concern. You know, these people begging on the streets and things like that. It needs to be controlled. And if you don't stop it now, it becomes a problem. It becomes a snowball. Then you have this typical things that the people are squatting all over and things like that. So try and fight it immediately. You know, it's easier to maintain than to rebuild after you've lost. Take soccer stadiums, a very good example.
Yeah.
There's big promises of in every region to have a 15,000-seater stadium. What dream with what money? We can't even maintain a 10,000-seater stadium, or we can't even fill that stadium on a regular basis. Now we want to build 14 or 15 things. We need to be realistic about things.
And is that the priority? That's also the question.
No. I mean, look what's happening in Morocco now. The Generation Z that's in anti-government and all these unrest that are there, they're bringing up. Morocco has done. I admire Morocco for what they've done for football and the money they invested and things like that. But all of a sudden people say, we don't want stadiums. We want health and we want education.
We want schools. We want hostels.
Yes.
We want proper sanitation.
So, I mean, it's nice to make promises, but if you cannot fund it, and that's another problem that I have in this country. All these public enterprises have the nicest strategies. Spend a lot of money on strategies. NDP 6, nice document, nice dream. What will it cost us? It was never costed. Once you start costing all those things that are there, you realize, the reality and the dreams a little bit apart.
Yeah, and we tend to, when a new document comes out, we get hope in the new document. But we've had Vision 2030, we've had Arambe Prosperity Plan, we've had NDP 1 up until 5. So yeah.
And what I can say is, things are, you can fix things. And my 18 months at the NFA was a very, very good example. In 18 months, we turned a 30 million loss business into a 20 million profit.
Sure.
By
That's
simply
a 50
cutting,
million swing.
Yeah, by just simply cutting and being selective. I mean, we didn't send our national team to every event because it's costing us money. You need to rather build. You need to have a strategy. So what we did, for example, we set up a whole structure, graded it, everything. The new executive came in. First thing is increased S&T, of course, and then the whole executive went to CAF, and these people made more money than the players on the field. I mean, that's another thing, but I'll come back to the S&T with the Ministry of Education. And then, that is the thing, and they're now 2 years in this, and they don't have a strategic plan. You know, football is the nation's sport, and it should not be in the position it is in. So is many of these public enterprises that are struggling. Even an NBC should not be in the financial troubles they have. I mean, the thing that you raised is quite right. I mean, NFA, when we took over, didn't pay the pay-as-you-earns and the city of Windhoek bills and things like that. And I bet you now, NFA hasn't paid pay-as-you-earn for the last year, and the city of Windhoek bill is sky high again. Yeah. That's common. This is the moment companies get into problems. This is the first thing that gets they're not paid.
And the thing is, the standard is set. If you don't pay it after a while, it gets written off.
Exactly.
Namcor, if you are 800 million in debt, government will bail you out.
Yeah.
Air Namibia. Yeah. I mean, the list goes on.
So, I mean, this is, you're right, although they say, NBC says it's not true. But I mean, all the funds that were not paid off and it was written off, it's an indirect subsidy. So add the 150, 200, 300 million that you get from government, plus the money that was written off, the picture looks totally different.
No, that's the point.
But do they really think we're that stupid?
No. Yeah, exactly. And why is historic corruption not corruption?
Yeah.
If you are paying your pay-as-you-earn at the current moment, what happened to that money that was collected of pay-as-you-earn for all those years that needed to be written off?
Yeah.
Just the mere fact that penalties existed
Yeah.
is already evidence that they didn't pay it. So yeah, but we can expect that. I mean, it's the same rhetoric over and over again. If you accuse them, then they'll find a way to justify and eye blind.
But that's the problem that I have, is that these incompetent people are staying in positions, and once the contract ends, they pop out somewhere else.
Yeah.
That is the problem that you have, is those vocal people get into positions, and they normally the ones that cannot do the thing. Good politicians, good talkers, but no action.
But I mean, you build a track record, and a track record is successes, right?
Yeah.
So that if his track record is poor, it should count for something. So yeah, I agree with you that that's one of the massive frustrations we have, and I think it's our obligation to speak up. You mentioned that they would say, yeah, you are racist if you are speaking up. But if we don't start speaking up, nothing will change. And the time for staying quiet has passed.
No, that's over. And I've got nothing to lose. That's why I'm saying now I can be vocal. And I want to come back to the SNT, but Ministry of Education. When that trip to Ivory Coast was up and running, so, we had like 22 players, but with technical staff and support, we were like 35. Just imagine that SNT and hotel costs. Anyway, NFA did bookings, block bookings for all the people that would come there to support and things like that. The staff from NBC and Ministry of Education that were dedicated to go there claimed SNT from Ministry of Education and NBC staff, and then they did claim from NFA as well. And now I know how the SNT structures work, so I phoned the ED and I said, listen, these gentlemen and ladies that are going, have they claimed SNT from your side? He says, yes. I said, what rate? Rate 1. So rate 1 is the one where you get all the money and you pay your own accommodation, everything is yourself, and basically it's up to you where you stay and live. And they claimed from us as well, from NFA at that time. And I said, no, you're not going to get it. What an issue. And immediately I was called a racist. This was done in the past. This is how it every time was done. And the ED was pretty upset when I raised it to him. He wasn't aware what the people are doing. And that's the same story when the people are traveling, doing benchmarking and things like it, and there's a sponsor that takes you. Normally the sponsor pays everything for you. Accommodation, flights, and the people still claim full rate 1 SNT. And that is the issue. And there, I take off my hat for Minister Sankwasa when he said to the City of Windhoek people to go for a sports event, 6 of them, to do what? These are the things. It has become an entitlement that I must travel and I must get S&T. But I mean, this is the sort of things that this is killing Namibia.
No, I agree with you, and there's a type of entitlement. You mentioned this, like I deserve. Yeah. It's now my time, my turn, around the feeding trough, and that's why I always feel like that's why I was unable to join SWAPO, being interested in politics, because I wanted to join a political party that really wants to cut through all this and change the system from the inside drastically, because we are, as Namibians, a population of 3 million people with a skyrocketing unemployment rate of 51.8%, with this children dying of malnutrition. We aren't at a place where we can continue looting through the systems. We need radical change. And
that's my slogan is, you cannot change a broken system with the people who broke it.
Yeah.
You need new people, you need your thinking, you need experience, but you need also youth with more energy and things like it. Remember, I mean, we're getting older, the energy levels are no longer the same, but the knowledge is there.
Yeah.
Where the others have energy, but not really the knowledge. So we need to find a fit to bring IPC forward with that knowledge base versus the youth and the energy that's with the youth.
I agree with you in the fact that we need to change the whole system. And what I'm so impressed, even though I'm part of IPC, what I'm so impressed with this party is what we've managed to achieve in 5 years is unprecedented.
I agree.
But people need to remember that we are still only a 5-year-old party. SWAPO is 65 years old, right? The DA in South Africa is 25 years old. We were able to achieve what the DA achieved in 25 years. But we need capacity in our party.
Yes.
And we need people that are IPC sympathizers to also come to the table and say, listen, I'm willing to bring what I can, my knowledge, my skill, so that we can grow this party, that when we get into government, that we can have a smooth transition and have built the capacity within the party so that the people that take over these positions are the right people.
No.
And that's what people need to keep in mind. We are 5 years old, and it takes the collective of Namibians that want change to build, to invest in this party, invest your skills, invest your time. And if you aren't as young as I with all the energy, but you have the knowledge and you want a better future for the next generation,
yes,
for your children and their children, it's our obligation.
No, it is. And another thing why I joined and willing to join the regional council thing is, with my experience when we did presentations specifically on CRAN and also like the legislations is done, I perceive the regional council to be just a rubber stamp that comes from a parliament. Have you ever seen that regional councillors sent something back and they did not agree? Can you recall? I can't.
And if they do, we'll just ignore them.
Yes, yeah, then they will be replaced by somebody else because they don't tell the line of the party. That is what I want. I want to have the regional council become sort of another, it's like in America, the two houses, you bring it up and down and things like that. The regional council must have the guts to send something back.
Yeah.
And say, no, we do not agree. You overlooked that. This is why you have it there. And this is why I wanted to experience, because my perception was they're just rubber stamping what comes from the top, and that's it. And I want to experience, is that so? Yeah. And if so, how can we change it? How can we get, even if you're in the same party, because the party is also democratic, allow people underneath to voice and have the guts to send it back again.
Yes.
I just want to have that guts. The moment you have this transparency, courage to do that, I think that's one huge step forward. Yeah. No matter what party is in power at the moment, governance at the moment. But the regional council has a much more important role to play than what it is playing at the moment.
And I think that's why we need someone like you there, so that you can learn, so that you can observe and see how do we change the system when we get in power. How can we strengthen these institutions? And how can we make our country more democratically representative? So that it's not just all the power centered within the executive on top, that it is a grassroots participatory thing. And I think that's why it's so important that we need this type of leadership there. And
And then another thing which I also observed is, and I think IPC will have the same problem, I think, what I've seen now with this election process and nomination process and things like that. The councils, the city council, village councils are the stepping stone into politics. When we came in there from a CRAN perspective, presented something, and you looked at those people on the table, and you could see, the lights are out. You go to the regional, there's a little bit more, and on the parliament level, there's more capacity. You could see that. Yeah. So the problem is, and I think that's another problem that we have, the perception is you must come into the council as a council, then you go into the region, and then you go into parliament. Yeah. I think you need experts on a city council. And they should forget about getting into parliament, but rather serve experience and serve with knowledge the city council. Not use it as a springboard for the next level. And I think that perception must also change. And this, even in IPC, I think we should be aware that this does not happen. Yep. That you have experts on the city councils, and they stay experts. They don't move around. Make sure, then again, you must make sure that, because it's all about money. I could even now see, when you look, the people that you got in, and it's very concerning that how many of those people are actually unemployed. So, it's more an employment issue than a service issue. Mm. So it must become, it's a long-term thing. But the perception and things that you are serving, and you're the expert on this level, you're the expert on this level, and you're the expert on this level. Don't use it as a stepping stone to get there. And I think if we can change that, then I think the level of council participation, inputs and things like it will change, because then the council will become like typical boards. Because when you look at the public enterprises, many of the issues are on board levels, because the expertise are not there, comrades are got into this position, but they don't know the industry. Then it's easy for the people underneath. Even the CEO doesn't necessarily have the industry. So when you look at corruption, the corruption doesn't, you can change the CEO, you can change the board. Nothing will change, because the corruption is not even on the executive of the company, but it's lower below. Look at Namco. Namco is not a very good example. It's all in the middle management. And because you've got people higher up, not understanding things and trusting, of course you have to trust as the CEO as well, but you must have also some gut feelings and understand the industry. And this is why the corruption happens there. So the next step, and even in the ministries, the EDs are trying very hard. The ministers trying, they know what to do. But then you come to your directors and deputy directors levels, where there is total incompetence. And that, I think, this is, when you want to change competencies, you must be able to change there in the middle. You know, the labor laws and things like it must take this into account. You know, bring into the ministries performance management systems. The PEs have it, it's there. But I think that there's another thing that's lacking is accountability on city council levels. There's no proper, because you've got PEGA for your public enterprises and it's implemented. But there's nothing similar like a PEGA at ministries levels. There's no performance management of those directors and things like it.
Maybe just for those that don't know PEGA, can you just give me...
PEGA is called the Public Enterprise Governance Act, is where it subscribes to the public enterprises how they must operate and what documents they must have, you know, a strategic plan, a budget, financials reported, and with it you must bring in performance management systems like balanced scorecard. Every public enterprise must have a balanced scorecard. And once you've got your strategy, KPIs and responsibilities, you must also have business processes that flow in there. So if something happens, then you can follow where the process is through your performance management. And if something gets stuck, your performance management system will pick it up and you can say, listen, my friend, you have not performed, you don't get bonus.
You don't meet the KPIs.
Yeah, you don't meet the KPIs and things like that. So these systems are all in place. I think most of the PEs are doing it. There are some that are not, but most of them are. But then the PE public enterprises send all the reports to the ministries and then it lies there. There's no oversight of, is this public enterprise performing accordingly? They're not reading those things. They don't, the PEs don't get feedback. You know, that is sort of like my experience of what I've seen is the problem lies in the ministries itself. The capabilities. I mean, if you go into these things, I've seen it. You sit in conferences and the people are doing their PhD and doing their business while the conference is there. You know, this sort of things. I mean, most probably you've seen it already as well in Parliament, because I see the people.
If it even happens.
Yeah, you know, people are not focused. They're there for the medical aid, housing allowance, car allowance, and the salaries.
And S&Ts?
And S&Ts, of course. And then they've got their farms and the other sideline businesses that they're running during the day and things like that. That is, I don't say every public servant is like that. Oh, no. But I mean, you know, that is the biggest problem. My wife is daily at Ministry of Finance and things like that. You know, the way the people are treated there, you know, it's just not service orientated, not caring. And that is the change. And that is something, I think, once the IPC is in power, this must change. And you must change things that you can actually fire middle management.
So you mentioned, you know, firing the middle management, and I think this comes back to real accountability measures.
Yes.
I think this is one of the problems that I picked up as well. There's no real accountability. You know, every second institution will have accountability as one of their core principles.
Yes.
But when it comes to what really happens to those people that costs us millions, those people that treat the employees badly, all these things, and it's such a big contrast from the private sector to the public sector. Because in the private sector, if you cost the company money, you get fired.
Yeah, you're out. Yeah.
You're out. And that same level of accountability is not. I mean, it's incomparable.
Yeah. Remember, public enterprise is a business, and it should be run on business principles.
Yeah.
It should not be run by comrades, job creation, things like
Yeah.
it. It should be run by professionals. And even if IPC, and that's my wish, if IPC comes into power, some of those CEOs that are there, they are good. You keep them.
Yeah.
Or even some of the EDs, some of them are good. Then you keep them, because the executive director should not be a political position. It should be an expertise running a ministry.
Absolutely.
With being an education expert or telecoms expert or whatever. And that person is a professional sitting in that position. He's not being shifted from, like ICT now, to what's it now? What they want for foreign affairs now with Dr. Mate. He was great there. Now you move him. Why?
And it doesn't. He's built
Where's
up
the
so much
continuity?
knowledge,
Where's the continuity? Now you bring a new person in. Where's this continuity?
I agree with you. I think there's a common misperception, and obviously it's a fear-mongering thing, that once IPC takes over, everyone's going to lose their jobs.
Yeah.
But
No.
our party is
No.
not like that. We want competence. We want people on merit.
Yeah.
If you are the best person for the job, you should keep that position.
Yes.
And just getting rid of somebody because of the political affiliation or background,
No, it should not happen.
It
No.
should not happen, but it's also not our approach, right? We want the right people there. We want to get rid of those people that are there for positions, just corrupt. We want to get rid of that. But the competent people, because in the public sector, it's not just SWAPO people working for government.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of very competent SWAPO people in government. And
And you want them to run the country.
we want them
Yeah.
because it's about Namibia at the end of the day.
Yeah.
It's about Namibia, and I think that is the way we approach these things, and because we want what is the best for Namibia.
And I think that message must come out much stronger.
Yeah.
I think going forward that people in those positions should not fear if they know they're good.
Yeah. If you know you're not corrupt,
Yeah.
if you know you are really there for the right reasons and you are competent, then you should not fear losing your job.
No, that's my view as well, and I think that is where we should move and enter. So there's huge challenges, interesting things. I need to grow into this position should I win.
Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to it. I mean, it's really interesting. And then I think another thing coming back, we started off with the social responsibilities, but then we got drifted off now with the politics. The other big thing in social responsibilities is I was 13 years on school boards, like I mentioned before. And with that, I started soccer coaching from under 7, under 19. Active member at SKW. We set up the soccer youth academy there. Then we went into the Premier League. I was the team manager there, run the things, and all those things. Even there, it's costing your own money. But it was for the community. Yeah. So many years in football. This is where my passion. I'm actually a hockey player.
Oh, okay.
So I was at a technical high school and there was no football, so I started playing hockey. And then only when my kids got into school and there was no proper soccer that I went into soccer coaching. And then I went, then hockey died because this wintertime story, hockey didn't have floodlights. So hockey basically died, we couldn't train. So then I went play old boy soccer, and this is how I got involved in football or soccer. And for many years, even now what's happening now with the NFA, I'm keeping a very close eye, and I'm not involved, but I'm involved.
That's good. And I think our social responsibilities are very important, because we can't just, unfortunately in the state we are, we can't just rely on government to help, especially when it comes to the youth, investing in the youth. And that's why it's important that we do our part for the future. And Jochen, I just want to thank you for being willing to stand with us and being willing to put your hand up and say that you are regional council. And I want to urge the people of Windhoek East out there to vote for you, so that we can strengthen our party, so that we can really bring change, and so that we can get you with all your knowledge around the table to see the problems and come up with solutions. And collectively we can look at the problems of the country, not just Windhoek East, but how we can come together and really push things forward so that we can have radical change.
Yeah, and I hope there's more people like me that will join the IPC and bring the knowledge and share that. I think that is what the party is at the moment really needing, is those knowledge base to grow that and bring it into the party. And at the end of the day, it's for Namibia.
It's for Namibia. And it starts with me and you,
Yeah.
being willing to stand up. And the rest will follow. And we have seen that. Thank you very much, Jochen.
Thank you very much.
I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good.